Ready to finish it. Already been through hell and back, but I'd go back to visit if it was the only way that I could keep living limitless. You're now tuned in to the Living Limitless podcast. So without further ado, here's your host and my dog, Clint Riggin.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Living Limitless podcast. I am your host, Clint Riggin. I hope you guys are doing well today. We have another amazing guest on the show. I was able to be introduced to him probably about a year or so ago when I was making my transition into ministry. And I've been following his journey for what he has done in the fitness space. And it's absolutely amazing. Dane, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Dude, I am super excited because I can't wait for people to learn how to be so jacked. It's absolutely insane. For your transformation and where you came from. So the way we do this podcast is super chill, relax. I want people to know the Dane before fitness. Like the Dane when you were working long hours, you were building your consulting firm where you were doing what was it again?
High stakes headhunting.
High stakes headhunting.
Yeah.
So really,
high level headhunting for C-level executives in the technology space was really where I cut my teeth and carved my career as a business owner.
Okay, so take us through that. When you started your company, when it came to, were you putting time into fitness, nutrition? Were you taking the time for yourself?
Yeah, I was initially like always into like self-improvement and, development and reading books and figuring out how to get better. And because most of my roles were in sales for like Fortune 500 companies, I sold like financial instruments for UBS Financial Services and Paycheck. So like my background was initially like a stockbroker. Okay. So I would work from like 7 a.m. to 9 p.m, making over 500 calls a day and really just getting after it. And so that's where I got my work ethic. Like straight out of college, I jumped into being a stockbroker and, was learning from guys that were making like 50, 100, 200K a month. Right. So it was like, I just took the cotton out of my ears, stuffed it in my mouth, and I listened and I learned. And I was always an athlete. Like growing up, I always played baseball, basketball, football, played some baseball in college, but then realized like I'm probably not going to the pros. So let me shift and start focusing on a career. And so earlier than most, I shifted gears into my career and really excelled pretty quickly. Like when the first 2 years at my company, I became number one in my class as a rookie, as a broker. And then I got recruited out and went to UBS Financial Services and then became rookie of the year there and trained all of the new rookies after 2 years. So I was always into like getting into something, becoming a student and like figuring out mastery. Right. Like I always held myself to this standard. And alongside I was, fitness was a part of my life. Yeah. But long story short, like after my career in being an employee and I got the itch to go start my own thing, I decided I was going to be a recruiter headhunter. And as I like to say, like God gave me enough rope not to hang myself. I didn't know what I didn't know, and so I got into it and I started doing it and I loved it. It took me 8 years to build a 7-figure business. Wow. It took a long time and it was a lot of failing forward, but it was like the stock market, right? It was like this and this, but it was this way. It wasn't this way. It was lots of ups and downs. You get some victories and then boom, you get kicked in the teeth. You learn a lesson, you flatline, and then you pick yourself back up. So I was always used to that process. And alongside training was a component of my life, not to the ability of like sculpting my body and understanding macros, but it was like get active for a day. Yeah. It was 8 years in, I decided to kind of niche down in my firm. My wife had been with me building the business as well, my first business, which was a DAP Consulting Group. And we decided after all the experience, we're going to leverage that and niche down and build a really unique boutique agency, which was called Palarino Partners. And at the time, nobody had a firm like this, which was going to specialize in building world-class product management teams. So all we focused on was the function of product management for software companies, really hyper growth software companies. About 80% of our clients were sub 10 million ARR. And we were dealing with the CEOs making their most critical hire. And we went in the first year just building it. And people are like, what do you mean you only do one position? I was like, this is all we do. And we leveraged that to become the biggest fish in a small pond, right? Through SEO. And so we went in the first year with like no inbound leads. So like the second year, we started getting 10, 15, 20, 30 leads a month.
Wow.
Yeah. And that allowed me to scale and build systems. But what it also did was it took me away from my health and fitness. I was so focused at this stage of my life because I had a 3-year-old, I had a 1-year-old on the way, I had a wife. I was trying to provide. I was trying to like make my name in business and get to where we all try to be, right? Like that financial security.
Yeah.
And as I did that, my health and fitness took a back seat. What I was doing was like 1 hour a day, 4 or 5 days a week at Orange Theory, right? Like go hit classes and group, because that was all I had time for.
Right.
But what happened was after 3 years, we were excelling and business was going great. But Dane, the brand and the person, was doing terrible. I didn't recognize myself. I didn't recognize my thoughts. I didn't recognize my attitude, my energy, my physique.
Yeah.
It was just not showing up the way that I wanted to. And I knew like something had to change. And so for me, it was the negativity that I was in, right? Like just not feeling like I was thriving and knew that something was better, needed to be better. And the programs I was using weren't working, right? Like I was like, damn, I'm training all this time and I don't look the part. I don't feel the part. And that bothered me. And I knew that that was impacting my family. Like I want to go to the beach with my kids because I don't want to take my shirt off.
Yeah.
Right. And so I started talking them out of those things. And no, we're not going to go to the pool today. Let's do this. Let's go to Costco. Right. We don't got to take our shirts off there. And that's the truth.
Go to Costco.
Like Costco.
Oh,
and yeah, man. But it, like after so many times of doing that, I recognized like I no longer was looking myself in the eye in the mirror. I didn't want to take pictures with my kids. I wasn't whipping the phone out to take selfies with my family that I was supposed to be proud of. Yeah. And I was proud of them. I wasn't proud of me. Yeah. And so the realization was I had let the standard drop, right, in my own life. I had raised it up in business, but dropped it in my own life. And I knew that that wasn't going to scale well for me as a leader of my family. And that just ate at me a lot. And so the wake up call for me was I decided to do a transformation contest. And, you know, this good looking dude, 25 years old, we're doing this transformation contest. Like, all right, we're taking before pictures. And I'm like, all right, let's do it, you know. And he showed me that before picture, dude. And I just wanted to like stick my head up my ass and run out the door. I was so embarrassed. I looked like an eggplant. And it was like painful, you know. I didn't show my wife. I didn't tell. I was like, F this contest. I'm not doing it, you know. And
can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
During this process, because obviously you were in shape and then you started to get out of shape. Did your wife ever say anything?
Never. Yeah, that was the thing. She never said anything. And now she'll even look at those pictures when she sees, you know, the stuff on Instagram and stuff, and she's like, I just never saw you that way. You know, I didn't see it. And that's the problem with most of us. We get so busy in parenting and survival and getting ahead and buying homes and keeping up with the Joneses and all these things that like you just kind of fall in the middle of the road and accept mediocrity and average. Right. And we became susceptible to that, although we were training every day. Like I wasn't not training. I was still doing it, but I had all the other pieces wrong. So it wasn't showing up. Yeah. Right. And so that was impacting the way that I thought about myself, the way that I saw myself. And so I decided, like, I was just adamant. I was like, if I'm gonna find a way to break off from my family for an hour a day, I'm gonna get the results, right? Like I need to be able to get the results so people know that I'm doing this. And so that's where the journey began for me. And I didn't tell my wife like, hey, I'm gonna go do this thing, and hey, I'm really depressed and I'm just not, you know, having these good thoughts. And I wasn't desiring my wife. I wasn't feeling desired, right? And after a while, like I know a lot of other men feel that way. It's like that starts to wear at you, dude. It's like, damn, you know, like what's going on? And then the impact was so much more than just eating right or training to me. It was like, I got to lift me up. And so I knew the only way that was going to happen was if I did what I did in my businesses. I put my head down. I got the right information and I practiced and deployed it every single day. And so I went to the gym 7 days a week. It was like, there's no excuse. I'm not overtraining. I'm going to this thing every single day. I'm getting in the habit of showing up for myself. Yeah. And that just built this momentum, you know, within 90 days,
Yeah.
After, studying a specific style of eating, studying a specific style of training that I knew worked for professionals, scientifically backed, like these guys were sculpting bodies for a living.
Yeah.
I just got into that information and I started putting these pieces together and putting them in my life. And as slowly but surely, my body started to change and my attitude changed, and my energy changed. And people were like, 90 days later, people were like, dude, what happened to you? You lost that weight. You look great. And it was like, I didn't look at all like I look now, but I felt like I felt now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what I was trying to tell guys. Like, it's not about getting to that complete body like overnight. It takes time, but it's who you become mentally, and that changes really, really quickly once you start showing up for yourself. And so that was it. I decided to take that hour and just be more intentional with it.
Everything you said is so on point. I was listening to Dan Martell, and he said, if you want to start a business, start going to the gym, because it's going to teach you self-discipline, delayed gratification,
that's right,
showing up for yourself, all of the things. That's why a lot of people who are good at business, you sometimes start in the fitness field first.
Yeah.
Or they bring themselves from an area. I know a lot of fitness coaches that went a whole different direction.
That's right.
But for me, I put so much time into my fitness that I wasn't putting time into my business.
That's right.
But like mine was opposite. I was like, somebody told me, they were like, Clint, if you put as much time into your business as much as you do your fitness, you would do incredible.
Yeah, lights out.
So what you said is so powerful, because first of all, it's the intention. Right.
Yeah.
Why are you doing what you're doing? Like, what is your why? Somebody told me this, like, your why needs to make you cry. Your why is you want to be with your kids, your family. Like that's like the main thing. It's not to have a six pack. It's not to be ripped. That's great. No. But it's for you to be there for your family.
Yeah. And to be proud of who you're showing up. Like I knew, like I've always had these standards in my life. Right. And so as my son got to be 3 and I knew he was going to be 4, I knew I was going to have these standards for him. Right. And I was like, I have zero leverage as he starts to become more competent and aware to set standards for this child if I don't have him in my own life, right? And like the magic, you mentioned Dan Martell, there's a funny story. So I've been in the technology space for a while at this time, and I've dealt with clients in Canada, all throughout the world, right? And so 90 days into this journey, I was on the other side of it, right? I was looking better, I was leaner. I get a text and it says, Dane, it's Dan Martell. Can you be my headhunter?
No way.
And I'm like, this right? I'm like, it's got to be a joke, right?
Yeah.
And no shit, right? But I knew, of course, it's Dan Martell, because I bet on myself. I put all of my energy into being better, and this is the shit that happens, right? Like I didn't pursue him. I knew of him, but it turns out one of my clients was his best friend, and my client was over there bragging about how he scaled his company. And his secret weapon was Dane Palarino. And Dan Martell's like, well, who the fuck's Dane Palarino? Yeah. Right. And he's like, oh, he's my headhunter. And so they unpacked that. And then Dan texts me. Next thing you know, I'm recruiting for Dan. And then I'm helping him train his head recruiter to recruit for SAS Academy. And then we're on this referral basis. We become friends and we build this relationship. So like, when you make a decision and you bet on yourself, like things like that, opportunities open up. And one of the first things Dan says to me on the phone is like, damn, Dane, you're pretty fit. And I was like, yeah, thank you. I was like, I've been working at it. So, that, and then that kind of just propelled me forward. It was like, yes. And I just continued to be a headhunter. Like I still run that firm. I shifted a lot of those responsibilities to my wife because I got more and more passionate about, my health and fitness. And I was helping all these guys locally and in the gym. And there was something that was different about helping a person versus a company. Like I've always loved scaling companies. I love when they get acquired or they go into an IPO because of the talent we've given them. But there's nothing like another man coming up to you a month later, 2 months later, 90 days later, and like, do you remember when you told me X, Y, and Z? And I did that little thing, and I can't tell you how much it impacted me, because I know that guy has a wife, that guy has a child, and that decision and that action impacted those people. When you do it for a business, it's a venture capital guy, it's an angel investor. It's important, but it doesn't have that impact, right? They're not waking up like, this dude saved my life.
It's a generational impact.
Yeah. And so I knew that God was preparing me for this next phase of my life. And so that was the big transition. Before I launched DadBod Sculptors, it was like, how do I do that? How do I be this or that? And then one day it was like, God's like, you don't have to choose. You're this and that. You help them, and you help the businesses scale, and you help the leaders of those businesses get healthy so that they can enjoy the fruits of their labor, because that's what I needed.
Yeah.
But that was me, right? And once I locked that in, my wife, you know, God bless her, she gave me the pat on the back. She was like, go do it. And it was like, yeah, it was like, all right, let's do it. And I still, like, that was like March. I didn't launch DadBods till July of last year. I dealt with so much fear and so much insecurity because you're like so private. I've never made a video. I never got on the camera. I didn't have an Instagram account. You know, I didn't have any of those things. I was like, how the hell am I going to go from like this phone business to like now being public and start sharing this shit and, you know, showing my body? And it was like, I didn't even want to take a selfie fucking 12 months ago. And now I'm going to be, you know, and it was just, but it was like, I just had faith. I just kept leaning into it, you know, and the more I leaned into it, the more I knew like I was growing.
Dude, the number one thing you said there was you had faith in yourself, and you had faith in God.
Yeah.
Because you knew that God has positioned you. You were already the leader in a massive company. Now you're a leader knowing what leaders go through in the position that you're helping them get out of.
That's
which is
right.
the most beautiful thing, because I see a lot of fitness coaches that take a 10K course and then they're like, I'm your fitness coach. They've never been through anything.
Yeah.
They've had everything easy to them. They've been in shape. Like, they don't even know how to talk to a client because they've never even really understood it.
Yeah.
But what you're doing, man, is just so powerful, dude. And I love it. And what you said about like helping somebody else, there's nothing else better, truly, than that, because you see the impact, not just one person, but the family. And then the wife might say, hey, listen, you know, thank you so much. You know, our life is so much better because of this. And people don't understand it starts with the physical side of things, the mental side of things. Your relationship gets better. Your marriage gets better. Your sex gets better. Like, everything in your life
gets better.
Yeah.
And opportunities open up. I mean, getting jacked will change your life. People look at you differently.
Yep.
You know, whether it's just, there's a level of like, this guy's he's got some standards, right? And he holds himself to a higher level. And that translates really well in the business, I realized, right? So I got more clients by doing less, just by the body that I carried. And for the first 6 months when I launched DadBod, I didn't even have a product. I wasn't trying to sell anybody anything. I was just trying to figure out, how do I give as much information to these people to get as much men aware of what we do and start waking up to the fact that they need to prioritize their health and their fitness. It wasn't until January of this year that I said, all right, now we're going to put together something that I feel we could deliver that's better than anybody else. And so that was it. It was like, how do I take 3 years of my journey and collapse time for these people, right? And make sure that they can do it in 90 days. How do I simplify that process to make it done for you? And I went and basically looked at everything that I did that I had to go outsource, from the supplements to the coaching to the style of training to the nutrition to the timing. All these things change after the age of 35. And most guys are still doing the routine that worked for them in their 20s. I'm almost 9 out of 10 dudes. And I'm like, what's your routine? They're like, well, back in college, I was running this, so I just kind of picked it up from there. Some guys are like, I'm doing the same thing I was doing 20 years ago. I'm like, all right, bro, it's not going to work anymore, right? Because your car is not new. Right. Like, we got to optimize you. And so I knew that was a gift that I had been given, and my business success had given me the ability to get the time, to get the information, to then deploy it and package it to say, hey man, this is how it's done. And
dude,
so
you said awareness, right? Like, nobody thinks about that. People launch a company and they're like, okay, well, I'm just going to get clients and we're going to bring people in, but you don't have a back-end system. You don't have an operating system. You don't have anything to bring.
How do you deliver it?
How do you deliver something? What you did was you created awareness. You provided value for 6 months without even releasing a program. Just like, men, listen, look at this. This is what you need to do. I want nothing from you.
Yeah.
But I need you to start doing this and watch your life change. But then you had so much value that you gave people that when it was time, people were just like, oh, hey, I'm ready. Like, I've been following this. Whatever you gave me here, like, I can only imagine what you're going to give me over here.
That's right. And that was it. It was like, I'm just going to deliver so much value that it becomes a no-brainer for people. And I love that aspect, right? Like, I didn't feel comfortable, like, pitching every day on Instagram stories, and I'm looking for 5 people deal.
Oh, bro, it's so
You know what I mean? It was like, I know that may work for people, but like, I just didn't come from that path. It was like, I just want to share my experience that this is what I did. And I knew if I did that, the right people would draw to it. And they said, if I had the right intention, then I would never feel like I was selling. And that was it, right? Like I always say, like the day that I have to sell is the day I leave the business. When I'm not living from a place of passion and purpose, whether it was recruiting or selling 401k retirement plans or building investment vehicles for people, the moment I had to show up and feel like, oh, I got to get on it, I got to sell. Like I got to sell somebody right now. I knew it's time to find something else. And I always tell people that, like, man, I'm not selling you at all. Like this is the place that I am in all the time. I'm plugged into this level of energy and enthusiasm for this because I live it, you know? And I think that's where I try to get men. It's like, could you imagine 90 days from now if you were just to kind of flip that switch in your own life? Like it doesn't have to take 3 years. You can get there in 8, 9, 10, 12 weeks, really even 3 weeks before you start really seeing that benefit.
You put a reel out. I watched it and it showed, hey, I can show you in 8 seconds how I got the body that I did. And then you put all your workouts, all your supplementation, all the food, everything right there.
Yeah.
Like that's genius.
Yeah. Thanks.
Because people will see that and they won't even really understand what that is. Like 8 seconds. What do you mean? Just follow the plan.
Yeah.
And I think that's the hardest thing for people to do is consistency. Like
that's right.
When I was in fitness coaching, you have people show up every single day of the week and get it done. I cared more than my clients cared most of the time.
Oh, always. I always do. And that's a fault of mine. You know, but I'm like, eventually, once you start seeing the change, you and I will care just as much.
Exactly.
Right. Like there's always this breaking point where people have to get far enough in the journey to have just enough momentum to see that it's working to where they connect that belief and then they're locked in. You know, it's like giving up drinking. Like if you could just get yourself through that first 2 weeks to know that that habit does not serve you anymore. And you get on the other side of it to where you're not looking or itching for it between 6 and 8 o'clock. And then you start realizing, wow, I'm waking up better. I'm clear. I'm more on point. I'm now available more. I'm less grouchy. It's like, wait a minute, that had something to do with it, right? Or whether it's alcohol or sugar or porn, like all those things wear on you mentally. And when you prioritize fitness and you set that discipline in place, but you also have, like I always say, macro patience, micro urgency. You understand it's a long game. What you're doing today isn't going to necessarily pay those dividends tomorrow, but every single day you go after it, like it's the last day you have to do it, right? And if you have that mentality, you will continue to progress in your journey, and you're always looking for that next kind of hack. How do we continue to optimize? How do we continue to get better? And that's it. Like the first part is do, the second part is do well.
So good, man. I'm working with somebody right now, and he's got some addictive behavior. He's got some things that he's going through, and he's taking down a fifth every single night. Dude runs multi-million dollars of real estate, crushing it. But the number one thing, and there was a study done on this, when you have to be accountable to somebody, like you have to check in with somebody.
That's it.
It changes everything because a man now has to go to another man and say that he didn't follow through with himself.
That's right.
And dude,
just a little thing like that is a game changer.
Yeah. So
Friday, somebody cares about what you did that week, and they're going to ask you some questions, and you're going to have to check in. You start being more aware of all the decisions that you're making throughout the week. Yes. We watch guys go from drinking 3 days a week to 2 days a week to 1 day a week to, man, I drank an iced tea at a social event. I couldn't believe it, right? Because I didn't want to tell you guys I had another drink this week. Yes. And, nobody's telling them to do that. It's just by being there every week, like in our program, we set personalized targets and private check-ins, right? So everybody has a different pace that they're on, but every Friday, they come to the table with that information: how they slept, how they rested, how they executed on their habits, whether it was getting up at 6 a.m. or not drinking at night, whatever it is. Yeah. That little thing helps these men, because the people that I am working with are disciplined individuals. They have scaled businesses, so they're successful. They know how to lock it in. They just haven't been able to figure it out for their health and fitness. And a lot of it is just not having the right information. Like I always say, this isn't your fault, man. There's so much information out there. There's so much responsibility as a man that you have to kind of wear on your shoulders. You don't have a lot of outlets to kind of let it out with. So all we have is maybe a drink here or maybe a smoke there, right? Or maybe a night out with the fellas. And that's all we know. That's what we've been trained. But if you're able to kind of get around the right people that can show you some healthier habits and ways to kind of take baby steps into getting your health and fitness dialed in, then you're going to take the same habitual habit that you had to scale your business to scale your health. And then the game's over, right? You're going to 10X in all those other areas. And that's the magic, I think, that I experienced. And that's what I try to share with every single guy. It's like, hey, we're going to walk before we run, right? It's not going to happen overnight. We didn't get this body over, a 1 week vacation. It took time. So we're going to start sculpting away at it day by day. And I'm there to kind of like guide them and make sure that they understand every week we're going to progress. And if we don't progress, we're going to pinpoint what the challenge was. And that's all of this, Clint, is the stuff that I needed. Like I hired coach. I was alone for a long time. And then even when I hired coaches, I still felt like they didn't care. I still was checking in and I was like, hey, did you get my check-in like 3 days ago? Like, oh yeah, I'll get to it. And I'm like, well, how much does this guy care about my fucking transformation if he's not even looking at the stuff that I spent 30 minutes, entering in and taking my pictures? And I don't want to take a picture of my underwear and send it to you, but I did. It's like, like those little things. But now you get guys coming to the table and they're doing it. And it's like, this is going to pay off. I make sure that like they understand I'm 100% committed to you getting this outcome.
Damn,
I care.
I love it, man. No, you're such a good coach. And there's not a lot of good coaches out there. I'm not going to lie. There's a lot of people that do profit over people and not people over profit. And
I think you're right about that.
And I think when you really, really care, you're like, listen, man, I've been where you were. I want you to feel the way I feel today because you can do it. If I did it, you can do it. And a big thing I tell people is like, you are a gift, right? Like you are gifted, meaning you were made in the image of God. If you were made in the image of God, then you can do incredible things. That's right. But the belief has to become before you achieve anything. That's right. And, man, if you can believe, but another thing too is if you could have somebody else believe in you when you lack that belief. Yes, that's important. That's really, really important. For me, it wasn't so much coaches. Yeah. I had the conviction that I knew the body that I wanted to be in. I knew it was going to take 3 years. I knew it was going to take consistency. I knew that I just had to chip away every single day. But my wife also believed in me, and that was a big thing. It was like she was patient. She didn't ridicule me for making my own meals, for all these little decisions. Because a lot of guys are like, well, like, what am I going to do at dinner time? My kids are eating, nuggets. I got to eat the fucking nuggets and mac and cheese with them. I'm like, no, you don't. No, you don't. Right? Like, are they leading you or are you leading them? Oof. Right? And that's the fact, because now my kids are always like, hey, Dad, can I have some of the chicken and rice? Right? Yes. Hey, Dad, what are you eating? Why are you eating that? In the first couple of years, my kid just saw me get up every single day, go to the gym, down the hall, back 2 hours later. How was the gym? Down the hall, back down 2 hours. Like, it's just repetitive. He didn't know, but now he's old enough to know, like, damn, my dad did all that work and now he's got this. Right? Like, and now all his friends come over and it's like, Mr. Dane, can you show us your biceps? Mr. Dane, show me your vacuum. Mr. Dane, how are my abs? And he's the hero to all his friends and I've become the hero to him. And that's like, that's for a dad, that's like, there's no better feeling, because kids can be, from my opinion, I always tell guys this, like, they're going to find a hero, right? It's either going to be you or it's going to be somebody else. And in this world, there aren't too many people to look up to. So you have to start really deciding like how that's going to scale for you. Not now, but in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, all these other people that your kid is looking to get information and look up to, and it's not you, that's not going to scale very well for your ability to kind of build the child and the family that you want. And that's the fact. People don't like hearing that, but it's true. They're going to find a hero, right? And it's either going to be you and your wife, right, leading them, or it's going to be some TV or Hollywood celebrity that probably isn't ideal. Let me ask you this. When it comes to a lot of the people you probably coach are going to be people who are married, right? And most of them are divorced, yeah. Or divorced. How do you go about, this was always very interesting to me. I was younger than most of the people I trained, and I would always have to talk to the wife or the husband to convince them that this is the program for them, because they've done so many other programs.
That's right.
Or how is this program going to work? You know, it was almost like pulling teeth, but you had to care so much about the person. Be like, listen, if they don't change, if they don't have the transformation, I was literally just like, I will give you your money back.
Yeah.
Because I know for a fact I'm not going to let this person fail.
Yeah, that's such a good question. There's twofold, right? So my first experience was I would include the wife and I'd say, let's get her involved. But here's what happens. The man gets off the phone. If you don't get him on, if he doesn't commit on the call, here's what happens. He's filled with enthusiasm. He's got the optimism because me and him just spent an hour unpacking all this pain that he's gone through. He's telling me he's been dealing with this for years. He's telling me about the insecurities he's got, right? Like things he's not telling his wife. Here's what happens. He hangs up the phone. He probably goes and gets a glass of wine because he's already thinking he's committed to the program. Oh, Monday, I'm going to start this new health program, right? This is what happens. So let's go out for a burger and let's have a glass of wine. They start telling the wife this deal. And then they tell the wife, hey, this is a couple grand or it's thousands of dollars. And immediately it's like, hey, honey, you don't need to be doing that, right? I'll make the meal for you. You don't need to be investing that kind of money to get this change. And all of it changes. He's just now taking an opinion that wasn't warranted, and now it's stopped his ability to get what he needs and what he wants. And it's catastrophic. It literally is. I watch guys come back 6 months later and like, I wish I just would have did it back then. I let my wife talk me out of it. And I said, here's why the wife talked you out of it. She doesn't know how you feel. She doesn't know the thoughts that you've been thinking. She doesn't know that you can't look yourself in the mirror in the morning. Right. So how could she understand you investing a couple of thousands of dollars to get a health and fitness plan line? That doesn't make sense to her. You know what I mean? Why don't you just do the do and give her the man that she deserves and wants, and then let her be curious about how you did it. And so now I won't let guys off the phone. I say, it's going to go two ways at the end of this call, brother. You're going to give me a hell yes, or you're going to give me a hell no. But there will be no babies here. Right? You're going to commit to yourself on the call and show me that you take action. Why? It's not because I need your money. Not at all. It's because I know the people that are decisive and take action on that call are the people that get results 100% all the time. So those are the people that I'm looking for, right? The guys that are just getting information, oh, let me talk to my wife about it, have never come back and said, my wife's all in, let's go. Never. But when they start the journey, here's what I say. Hey, if your wife starts to get excited or curious, here's the deal. Send her to me. We will give her the exact same service for free.
Exactly. And when they have the transformation and the wife sees it, they're almost like, what?
What'd you do?
What did you do?
Give them a reason to be curious. Give them a reason to be interested. Right now, you have said a bunch of shit to her over the years and you've never followed through. So now this is another one of those things that you want to do and you're going to commit to. But she, in the back of her head, she's like, he ain't going to do it. He's just going to take money from our family. It's going to be one of these other things that he tries to do and fails. And now the family's short money because they're just not relatable. You know what I mean? And so that was something that I changed. And Clint, by the grace of God, man, it is allowed over the last 30 days. I brought on more clients in 30 days than I ever had the prior 5 months by laying that standard in my process. Saying, no, this isn't me, you and your wife. This is me and you. This is you fixing you. Your wife will get on board when you start betting on yourself and showing up every day. And the only way you're going to do that is if you put some skin in the game. Yes. And you got to make that decision for yourself, man. Don't let her make that for you. She's not the one walking around in your uncomfortable body.
Exactly. But the thing is, they don't communicate. So the wife doesn't know anything about this. They're like, oh, no, he's fine. He feels good. I see him every day. But really inside, the guy really was just like, I hate myself. Yeah, but I need to put on this.
They're screaming and they're crying. Yeah, there's a mask. And it's in a lot of them, man. One of the best things I love about this job, and I take it personal if they come back. Like I used to take it personal when they would come back and be like, "Oh, I'm not going to do it." Right? I'd be like, "Bro, you literally laid out your entire life to me. Like you were almost in tears. You were talking about how you haven't been able to open up to a man like that in a long time, and it was such a good refreshment. Like, but the moment you lose that momentum and you go ahead and you look for somebody else's validation to support your decision, your dreams are ruined. Your ability to transform are ruined because you've already said, I can't do it unless somebody else supports it or validates it. And you're not going to get to the other side and do the work that you need to do if you need that.
ET said it so well. He said, you're not looking for a breakthrough. You need to be the breakthrough, because a lot of times we're looking for that next step. You just need to step into it, which is one of the hardest things for people to do. All right, let's get into some of this stuff, because we got a lot to cover here, but I'm super excited. We're just going to go right into so prioritizing health to enhance decision making and productivity.
Yeah.
So go ahead. Yeah.
Please finish.
I would say this is probably, and people need to understand, like, I don't go to the gym just to look good. I go to the gym for my mental clarity and understanding that the day I'm about to have, I'm going to need to go to the gym, because I'm going to need energy. I'm going to need drive. I'm going to need clarity. Like, I'm going to need to really focus. And the people that you work with, they're 7, 8-figure business owners. They're people that are doing high level stuff every single day.
That's right.
So what is your take on this?
So for me, it's like going to the gym every day. For me, it's mental, for sure. Like I now have gotten to a place about 1.5 years into my journey. I already had the transformation within like 90 days, 6 months. I had transformed, and then I kind of maintained that level. But about 18 months into my journey, my motivation was slowing up. My intensity was slowing up. And then I looked around the gym and I was like, I look like everybody else, right? I look like everybody else. Like I'm average, and I didn't want to be average. So for me, it was like, I need to get more information and continue being excited about this journey. And so that required more reps, right? And so I started getting up earlier to figure out, how do I get to the gym to get in more reps and kind of get myself aligned so that I was ready for my family. I was at a place before I did this where I was waking up after them. I was on my heels. I was short with all of them. I had an attitude. I was just a grumpy old man, I like to say, right? Because I was behind the 8 ball and I wasn't ready to receive them. And then now I go into my business, and let alone one fire happens at 9 o'clock. And now I'm like, I'm just on my heels all day. Right. And I'm dealing with one probably $100 fire that's costing me $100,000 for the month, because I'm just not prepared to deal with it. So by prioritizing my health and getting up earlier, allowing myself to have that quiet time alone, for me, it's with God. And then it's evaluating the day that I have ahead and understanding, okay, this is what I got to attack. And then it's going in and getting the reps. I know when I go to the gym, there's going to be no problem in my day that's going to require the difficulty that it takes to build muscle. So I knew if I can get used to doing the reps early, then that's going to carry with me the rest of the day. And it was, because when I got to the business, I was like, oh, I got to make all these calls. It was like, it's 15 calls, dude. I just did 30 sets of fucking leg presses. Like, let's go. It's 15 calls, right? And you start to realize, like, this is nothing compared to that. And so the reps in the gym translated to more reps in business. It translated into more ability to say, you can do more here. And so I started being able to do more. And that gave me the ability to say, well, I can run this 7-figure headhunting firm, and I can do this online coaching thing, and I could learn how to do it from scratch, And so the reps in the gym allowed me to then start my Instagram account, right? 0 followers. July 15th of last year, 0 followers. Just
where are you at right now?
Account.
What are you at? 45,000?
45,000 now.
What? Dude,
yeah. It was 0, right? I didn't know the difference between a post, a reel, a story. Half the time I posted it, I was looking for it, and it was in the wrong place. I just didn't know. I didn't know what I didn't know. Wow. And I was on the phone all the time, but I just kept saying, just get the reps. Get the reps. Once you understand how to do the reps, it'll be good. And then you can hire somebody and say, this is what great looks like. Now you do it. And that's what I just kept doing, because I was so trained that the reps were going to build the muscle, and the muscle was going to then support me to get to the goal. And so that translated so well when I decided to build DadBod Sculptors. I would have never been able to do it if I didn't get all the reps in the gym and know what it took physically and mentally to kind of have that discipline. Then it allowed me to start this business, which is now scaling extremely well, and help all these people. But if I wasn't doing the work in the gym, right, first and starting there, I would have never been able to have the idea or the confidence or the belief that I could build an online business at 46. And this isn't to brag, right? But it's to tell people I literally had no account, no experience, no anything at 46 years old. I've been able to attract brands like Melon Hats. I've been able to attract brands like Battle Bars. I just signed with HD Muscle as a paid athlete. Like all of these paid athlete contracts came to a 46-year-old who was 30% body fat, autoimmune issues, and nobody had ever heard of. And they certainly weren't looking at my physique as anything to idolize, right? All of that came from doing simple little stupid reps in the gym, right? That translated into a person in a brand that can help other people get to where they need to go.
Come
And
on,
so,
man.
you know, you start to realize like I'm capable of so much more.
Come on, dude. Fire up, man. Let's go. All right, beautiful. Dude. I love this. I love this. Okay, so this is a big one. Prioritizing wellness in the workplace, creating a productive work environment. So let me ask you this. You transformed, you're in a leadership position.
Yeah.
The people below you, your employees, saw your transformation.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, you were someone now that they looked up to and was like, man, dude, he looks great. Like he is crushing it. And they probably asked you, or you gave them some tips, or they
Yeah.
to you and they were finally like, hey man, listen, I might need a little bit of help in this area. You know, I know I do this for your company, but like I would love to like be in shape like you.
That's right. It trickled down. My employees are mothers and college students, like in foreign countries. And it was just amazing. Like this mother, one of my social media managers, she had two young kids and just became a mom, you know? And then it was like, hey, how can I make this healthier, Dane? Or, hey, how can I do this? And just started asking these little questions. And then, hey, I did a 45-minute workout. And then my editor, next thing you know, like he went and started a mindset motivation page and he, you know, he just got into training, and then he would send me pictures like, hey, I did a workout this morning. And like, so they started to deploy this thing in their life. And then my other editors like, Mr. Dane, you've inspired me to go to the gym. I was always so embarrassed and felt uncomfortable going to the gym, but now I go every day and I love it. All because she edits my videos and she's like, sees, you know, how strong I am and, you know, how ripped I am, in her words, right? That inspires her to take action. And she's, you know, 24, 22, 25. Like these are kids where you're so impressionable to them. Yeah. And you're showing them like, hey, age is just a number. And then on the other side, man, like one of the clients I brought on a couple of weeks ago, amazing. This guy was a client of mine on the headhunting firm. We placed his head of product, right? And he was a tough client. He had high standards. He didn't show his personality a lot. Yeah. And long story short, he ended up replying to one of my messages, and I ended up bringing him on as a client. And on the onboarding call, I said, hey, what inspired your journey? And he says, you know what? In December, he said, I saw you start to come online with this stuff on LinkedIn. And in December, I was like, holy, look at this guy, right? You know, there was this massive insecurity of like, who does he think he is? You know, he says, but then I realized like, I wish I would have did that. You know, he said, and then I had to look in the mirror and I realized I'm 30% body fat. I'm 200 and something. I'm 40 pounds overweight now. And he's like, and it started to wear on me. So my little videos started to wear at this CRO on a daily basis to where he went on his own journey. It went from 30% to 15%. And now he's hired me to get him from 15 to 10. All because I made that decision and he decided to look and watch and be open to putting his ego aside and say, hey, maybe I'm supposed to be here and be seeing this. And he says, you know what? I'm not the only one. There's probably tons of people that are like, I wish I would have did that. You know, and so I always tell guys, man, like guys, we have such big egos. Like if you could just put your ego aside, right, and realize like you're here for a bigger purpose, and that if you allow somebody to help support you in your journey and you become a little bit vulnerable and put that ego to the side, right, like you're gonna be on a journey yourself. And I think that's been the magic, is seeing clients come back to me and be like, tell me what the hell you're doing, dude. You know, like help me get there. And it's like, this is why I started the business. Like you or me 3 years ago. Let's go.
Dude, so good, man. I love how you said you're here on purpose. And I say it all the time. You're here on purpose for a purpose. Like This is your winning season. And when I say that, people are just like, what do you mean I'm here on purpose for a purpose? I said, do you know that 151,200 people didn't wake up today? You know that you woke up today? So obviously you're here on purpose for a purpose. Like you have another day to do something great in this world, but you can't see it in yourself because you're looking at everybody else.
Yes.
And when you can take the comparison out of it, like Dane, I'm never going to look like you. right? Like
You look great, dude. I mean, you're not. Yeah.
No, I appreciate you. No, but I'm saying you are ripped, my
Thank
friend.
you, bro.
You are shredded at 46. You said
You're 46. Just turned
46. Yeah, like it's incredible. I understand like my gifts and talents and abilities are different than your gifts, talents, and abilities. Your structure of your body, your melanin in your skin, everything is different.
Yeah.
When I stopped comparing, man, that's when I started to get ahead.
That's right.
I started to compete against myself.
You got to create. You got to create your own version. That's 100% right. And in this day and age, it's so easy to compare.
Yeah.
Right. But it's like the only person I compare to, because in online, there's, you can start getting in that space, but it's like, no, I just got to beat the Dane from yesterday. That's all I got to worry about. Right. Can I be better than that dude yesterday? Yes. And I always say, sounds easy, but it's hard. Right. Yeah. Because you got to always keep raising the bar. You always got to always be putting that little bit of pressure on yourself to say you can do more, you can do better, like keep strengthening that muscle. And then one day you wake up and it's like you got that skill, you're locked in, you've leveled up, right? Yes. And now the next challenge is you're just like a video game.
It is.
Like video games, you're always leveling up, getting skills, getting more points, becoming more valuable. It's like that's the name of the game, man. As a business owner, you got to continue to get more skills to be able to deliver more value to the workplace, because if you're not doing it, somebody else is, and if somebody else isn't, technology is. So you constantly have this baked in urgency in my mind.
Oh, 100%. All right, this is huge. Balancing health, family, and business for holistic abundance. So really I want to go over is time management techniques, stress reduction, integrating family time with personal goals, and integrating family time with business goals, right? So you run this major company, right? You obviously had this company take you over, but you were still giving time to your family, but you didn't give time to your health. What did you have to sacrifice to get in the gym, to be able to give time to your family, give time to the gym, and then live like an abundance life?
Yeah.
All of it.
I had to sacrifice sleep initially. That was it. I was not a morning person. I was waking up after my kids. I was staying up later. I was eating sugar. I was watching TV. I wasn't winding down properly. And while this business was scaling, right? Because it was like, that was my time to try to unlock. And I was spending time after 9 o'clock doing that. And I was waking up at 7 o'clock, 7:30, 8 o'clock, and then trying to get after it and then going to train in the afternoon. And then I was sacrificing time with my family. And I was just like, I admired people that got up early, the Jockos of the world, the Mark Wahlbergs of the world. I'm like, how are these fucking guys up so early?
Mark Wahlberg, 4 o'clock in the morning in Australia.
Yeah. I'm like, how are they doing that? And I couldn't comprehend it because I didn't know it. And honestly, I just prayed about it. And I was like, the answer was like, you got to go to bed early. You got to figure out a way to shorten that nighttime routine for a couple of days and then get your body to wake up earlier. And I did it. And it started with 6 o'clock, and then it went to 5:30, and then 5 o'clock, and then at the gym at 6. And then over a short period of time, my body just started waking up 3:30, 4 o'clock, no alarm needed. In the gym, 5:30, back by 7:30, ready for my family, bring my kids to school, had the whole day to work, pick my kids up to school, spend the afternoon with them for a couple hours, then do dinner, back into my routine. So I realized, like, if I want to spend time and be where my feet are, I can't be going to do these things in prime time for business or prime time with my family. So for me, I made better decisions at night, and that took a couple of different things, right? Like what I put in my mouth impacted how I woke up. Like sugar definitely impacts how you wake up, your mood, your attitude, your energy. So I started decreasing that stuff, right? The better healthy decision that allowed me to get better sleep. And then I started waking up better. And when I started waking up better, I had protocols, a morning protocol that was like, I didn't think, just go into the morning protocol. And then at night, okay, I'm getting the itch, nighttime protocol, right? Little triggers throughout the day. And then in between, I would fill it with healthy meal. All right, here's a meal every 4 hours. And I just set myself up with all these little guardrails. So it was like almost impossible to fail. And then the work was being where my feet are. That was a big thing that I had to work on, which was when I'm with my family, be with my family. When I'm with my kids, be with my kids. When I'm working, be at work, right? Don't be where your feet are. And that I've heard that a couple of different times, but over the last year, I really have worked on like, be where your feet are. Because I knew this was going to take a lot of me to build, to get over. And I knew I didn't want to become the hero to my kids to then be an absent dad, right? And so that was like, how do I do that? And so it was morning routines, being back before they're up. And now one of my kids, he's up at 5:30, 6 o'clock because he loves having that time with dad.
Wow.
And it's like, that makes me emotional.
That's beautiful, man.
Yeah. So that has impacted them. Like, he's like, Dad, I'm part of the 5 a.m. club. And now my wife and I are always yelling at him, like, no, dude, you need to sleep. You need to grow.
Right.
Getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning. We have to like monitor him. But that's, they always say, like, habits aren't taught, they're caught. And that's the God's honest truth, man. My oldest son, I could teach him till I'm blue in the face and the kid just won't learn a thing. But God willing, God's grace, as long as I do the right thing, that he follows in every step.
Dude, man, I love that. It's so impactful what you're talking about. And so many people need to hear this because I know there's so many parents out there. There's so many absent dads too. Like, the amount of single moms, as I stepped into ministry, it's almost like I can solve everybody's problems. Like, I'm just like, just because I'm in this position, which I truly tell people, like, God's the only one that can solve your problem. And like, God's in control, but you got to take control, but he's not a remote control. Like, try to let people know, that. You know what I'm saying? Like, let people know that there are certain things that you have to do in life and show up for yourself.
Right.
Because nobody's going to hold your hand through life. Life is, it's hard. It's
really hard. Yeah. But you have to show God, your children, yourself, that you're willing to show up every day for yourself, no matter how hard it is. Yes. Right. And like,
let me talk about the days you don't want to show up. Okay. Because this is something that I get. Like, people would be like, well, Clint, you just got it super easy. I can just see that you just go through life like it's super easy on your side, and you don't have to have any of these bad days. And I was like, wait, let me hold you there. Okay. Yeah. I have bad days just like you have bad days.
Yeah.
The difference is I push through the bad days because that's where the growth is.
Mm-hmm.
This morning, I did not want to wake up and go to the gym, but I knew that I'm running a challenge on Facebook, and I made a contract. I made a post that said, hey, I'm going to show up every day for 21 days. And I have 5 other people that are posted next to me. So if I don't show up, what does that look like?
That's right.
No, that's not a leader.
That's right. You put yourself in a position that you were going to be held accountable one way or the other.
Yes.
Even if you don't want to hold yourself accountable. Yeah. There's this saying that I've been saying I don't know who said it, but it was like, my mind is stronger than my feelings. And anytime I get my feelings involved, because I'm a very passionate person and I tend to operate from feelings a lot.
Yeah.
I've been training myself, like, my mind is stronger than my feelings, right? My feelings don't matter in this case. Like, I have a mission, I have a purpose, I have a goal, all those things. Like, these feelings aren't a part of that, right? Because I know when I achieve the things that I want, I'll have the feeling that I desire. And this is a short-term feeling. And last week, man, my wife and we onboarded a bunch of clients. I had to let go of some coaches because they just weren't kind of bringing it the way that I wanted to deliver the service. So it put a lot on my plate. Mm-hmm. And I have super high standards for myself. I expect the best. So I try to deliver the best.
Yep.
And it just put a lot of pressure on me and my wife to kind of work through some things because she also supports me in this business and the other business. And that pressure creates a lot of friction. But I'm like, the diamond's being created, baby. You know what I mean? Like, this pressure is for a reason. We will not be the same people tomorrow morning that we were this morning. Like, we are having this friction because the pressure in the diamond is being created. And if you have that belief that this pressure is here and it's here to serve you, you find a way to get through it. You find a way to quiet that inner child and say, quiet your bitch voice, keep doing the work. And the other side is what you're fucking here for. Sorry for swearing.
No,
but like, I got to get in that place. And every single night, it's like I sit there and I'm like, what a day. But damn, we got through some shit today. Right? Like, we built this because of that. We delivered this because of that. These clients got that because of that. Right? And everything got better. And as I say, like, that diamond's just getting better, shinier and shinier.
Dude, I love that, man. No, listen, curse all you want, man. You're passionate about what you do. Like, don't worry. Like, The lightning is not going to strike down, and you know, you're going to be good. I promise.
I feel God. I got Jesus on the screen. I'm
He's just looking down at us.
I'm like, he's looking at me. I'm sorry, God. I'm sorry. My wife would be yelling at me right now.
Well, man, but before we get out of here, I want to ask you one serious question. Any man that was at your position of where you were, they run maybe a major company, maybe they don't, you know, they're not there for their kids. They're not the superhero that they want to be. What is the number one thing you could tell them that could push them forward in the direction that they could take today?
Yeah, I would say a lot of us have guilt and shame and I always tell guys, right? It's progress over perfection, and we have to have grace with ourselves first, right? If we're going to get anywhere. So it's having grace with yourself, but also picking something every day that gets you to sweat. Like literally in the beginning for me, man, I didn't have anything accessible. All I had was dumbbells, and people can see on my Instagram page, I'm like overweight. My hair is like red because it turned red from this stupid sun and spray during COVID that just in a friggin' weird place, dude, like a total different being. But I had these 225-pound dumbbells, and I was like, I don't care what happens today, but I'm going in that room for 20 minutes and I'm going to lift those damn dumbbells with curls or things until they become light. And that was just the activity, and that led me on my journey. So for me, it would be pick something, whether it's 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day that you can find yourself getting into, whether it's burpees or walking or cardio, and have grace with yourself that, hey, at least I did something today, and then build from there. The nutrition piece will get figured out. The programming will get figured out. The accountability piece will get figured out. But if you at least say, every day I'm going to do something for 10 or 15 minutes to move my body, release that serotonin, and get myself into a higher vibration state, then you'll start to get the right information, and your journey will really pick up momentum.
Dude, so good, man. Dane, thank you.
If you need to, find a coach that can collapse time for you. You know, a lot of people aren't fortunate enough to be able to pay for a coach, but find people online that can help you collapse time. That's the most important thing.
Let me just say this, guys. Find the coach, which is right in front of you. Okay, this is Dane Palarino. He can help you get to where you want to go. If you look at his transformation on Instagram from where he was to where he is now, it's absolutely insane, guys. His passion and what he has for this company is truly amazing. I just want to leave you with this. Do you know the word passionate comes from the Latin word passio, which means to suffer and sacrifice, right? So
I didn't know that. That's great.
You are doing exactly that. You suffered, you sacrificed, you went through the trenches to truly be able to help other people. And when I talk to people, I say, are you truly passionate about what you do? Most of them are not.
Yeah.
Because you need to go through some things to get to where you are today. Man, I want to say thank you so much. Thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for being yourself. Man, it's absolutely incredible. Where can people find you, Dane?
Brother, thanks for having me. People can find me on Instagram. It's dadbod_sculptors. Same thing on YouTube, and then on LinkedIn as well, which is just Dane Palarino.
Awesome.
Those are my three main platforms.
Dane, thank you so much. Hey guys, thank you so much for coming and listening to the Living Limitless podcast. We're gonna have amazing guests just like Dane coming up.
Awesome.
It's not going to be as many because I'm in school. I'm in seminary school right now. I'm trying to stay focused. That word focused. So, man, I just appreciate you once again. God bless you guys. Have an amazing day. Go out there, chase your dreams. Let nobody tell you you can't do anything, and then go